Alright guys, welcome to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are replacing the upper ball joint. These ones do not come out. The ball joint is part of the upper control arm and they're not pressed in, pressed out. They are in there permanently. So we need to replace the ball joint, which means we're also replacing the whole entire control arm. I don't think this is going to be very hard. I think you can probably do it as a under a shade tree in your garage. We're going to find out though. Stay tuned. Let's do it. We are going to attack the upper ball joint first, going with the nut. You may have a cotter pin you have to remove first. I did not. We're just going to pull this nut to the bottom of the stud and we'll finish it off later. Going over here to the rear side of the control arm. It doesn't matter, you can do front or back first. I just went with the rear, and we're gonna bust this little 14mm bolt loose. It actually was seized in pretty good, took quite a bit of effort to get off, but it did come off. We could not fit a ratchet in there with the coilover in the way, but I didn't feel like removing the coilover, and we were able to do this entire job without removing the coilover. Hopefully you get just as lucky as I did. To get this one off, I could not get it with just one wrench. I had to interlock a couple for leverage, and then what do you know, off she came. A little effort and there she goes. You're going to go ahead and pull those two bolts all the way out, and yes, I was able to do it with the coilover in place on both the passenger and driver side. Alright, you got both bolts out. Now your control arm is loose from the vehicle, and now we're going to go ahead and try to bust off the control arm, and we're going to use a hammer for that. We're going to bump it out if we can. We're going to give it our best shot, and if that don't work, we'll go to a pickle fork, which is of course what we ended up doing. Every once in a while I'll get lucky and a hammer will work. Nothing wrong with the pickle fork. In fact, it works anytime the hammer don't, so sometimes you can start with it. And there you go, bust it loose. Pull the nut the rest of the way off, and your upper control arm is out. Check it out. You guys are doing fantastic. Stick in, you're halfway there. This little rise on this is a tapered bushing. Make sure it stays in there or you put a new one in. The passenger side actually stuck so hard to the ball joint that I could not separate it, and I had to buy a new tapered whatever it is called. I don't know the technical name, but I think the package that it came from the dealer actually said lower ball joint taper, but it looked like the upper and it fit like the upper. So we're going to go ahead and put these bolts back in. We're just going to hand tighten them for now. We'll tighten them after we get everything put back together here in a few minutes. Just get it in there and you're going to pick it up. These Mevotics came with a protective cover over the boot on the ball joint. You're going to take the castle nut off, drop that protective cover, take your taper, put a new one in if you have one or need one, and it's gonna go right up in here. If you don't have that, you will not get this tight. Trust me, I tried because I lost one. Put your ball joint in and put your castle nut on. Your castle nut you're gonna tighten as tight as you can get and still get a cotter pin through essentially. Your cotter pin has to line, your castle nut has to line up with the hole in the stud to get a cotter pin through. So pretty much go as tight as you can and then back it off until you get a straight shot through. Put your cotter pin in, doesn't matter which side, whatever floats your boat. I use needle nose pliers to split the cotter pin. This is just to keep that nut from backing itself out. Make it look as pretty as you have the patience to do. Usually my first one looks pretty good and the second one looks like crap because I'm just ready to be done, but you know, whatever. So you're going to put that in. Now you're going to go ahead and tighten the control arm into the car. And guys, pretty much you're done at this point. If you have greasable ball joints, make sure you slap some grease in there. And the grease zerk, you'll have to put that in as well. These ones are not greasable. Whichever way is your preference, doesn't bother me. That's up to you. And yeah, there we go. All right, that's it for replacing the upper control arm. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You can do it in your own yard, I believe, if you got a little capability. All basic hand tools. We ran into an issue on this side with the cone in there. I had to order another cone from the dealer. It's coming tomorrow. We'll get that buttoned up. Not a big deal. You may or may not want to preventively order at least one of those just in case you have a similar problem, but not a huge deal either way. So easy replacement, easy to do. Remember, if it's not broken yet, now's the perfect time to fix it, and we'll see you on the next video.